GMNA uses artificial intelligence for generated speech, visuals, and production. AI-generated content may contain errors. Please verify important information before making decisions or taking action.
Good evening. Tonight we'll update you on U.S. Customs restarting screening at the airport after that lingering odor, the city's ongoing water use limits while Atwater repairs continue, and a new Urban Scouts Day camp teaching kids to navigate Montreal without phones. Over to you, Emma.
The Urban Scouts Day camp kicks off this Saturday at Parc La Fontaine, offering children activities focused on navigating the city without using smartphones.
Registration opened last week, and over 100 families have signed up for the day camp, which runs from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday.
Camp counselors will guide participants through a city-wide scavenger hunt, teaching map reading skills, public transport etiquette, and safe street crossing techniques without digital assistance.
The day camp promises a tech-free adventure for Montreal's youth, offering hands-on navigation practice. Lots to get to, let's begin. Good evening, Montreal. U.S. Customs resumes screening at Montreal Trudeau after strong exhaust odor forced a temporary shutdown Wednesday morning. Officials say operations are restarting gradually. Ramai Gaudreau has the full story.
U.S. Customs officers are back on the floor at Montreal Trudeau International Airport after a strong exhaust odor forced a temporary shutdown early Wednesday morning. The smell, described by staff as pungent and reminiscent of vehicle exhaust, prompted officials to suspend all screening lines for safety. After ventilation crews cleared the area and air quality tests returned to acceptable levels, agents began a phased restart of passport and baggage checks, starting with the first lane and adding additional counters as conditions allowed. Travelers who arrived during the pause were redirected to a holding area before being processed as the lanes came back online. The airport announced that full service is expected to resume shortly. Ramai Gaudreau, GMNA News, Trudeau.
Quebec Health Ministry has requested an investigation into the deaths of 3 youths, aged 4, 16, and 17, at a Montreal youth center earlier this month. Ramai Gaudreau has the full story.
At a downtown youth center in Montreal, 3 young people died within weeks of each other this March. The first child, a 4-year-old, was found unresponsive in a playroom on the morning of March 5th. 2 weeks later, a 16-year-old boy was discovered in the gymnasium after a basketball practice, and a 17-year-old girl was found later that month in the cafeteria. Health officials say the circumstances remain unclear, prompting the Quebec Health Ministry to request a formal inquiry into the center's safety protocols and oversight. The ministry's request aims to determine whether systemic issues contributed to the tragedies and to prevent further loss of life. Ramai Gaudreau, GMNA News, Montreal.
Quebec has ordered Consignation to forego its proposed glass container processing plant, directing the company to transfer recycling operations to established firms. The move resolves a pending decision on the sector's future. Matthew Lachance has the full story.
The Quebec government has ordered Consignation to hand over the processing of recycled glass containers to existing firms, scrapping its plan to build a new glass container plant. Officials said the decision obliges the company to work with the province's established recycling operators rather than develop its own processing facility. Industry representatives, who have been waiting on a verdict, noted the move keeps capacity within the current network and avoids the costs of a new plant. The ruling comes as the province seeks to streamline its glass recycling system and maintain supply chains for beverage containers. Consignation will now negotiate contracts with the approved processors while the sector adjusts to the new mandate. Matthew Lachance, GMNA News, Montreal.
5 Montreal police officers have been suspended after a tribunal determined the 2018 pursuit of a driver with a suspended license endangered safety. The decision was announced in July 2026. Matthew Lachance has the full story.
A tribunal has ordered the suspension of 5 Montreal police officers after concluding they should have ended a 2018 pursuit of a driver with a suspended license. The review found the chase endangered public safety, noting the suspect's illegal status on the road. Officers continued the pursuit despite the risk, prompting the tribunal's decision to remove them from duty pending further review. The suspension comes as part of the department's response to the findings, emphasizing adherence to protocols that prioritize community safety during high-speed chases. Police officials said they will conduct an internal review to ensure compliance with pursuit guidelines, and the suspended officers will remain off duty while the department evaluates any further disciplinary measures. Matthew Lachance, GMNA News, Montreal.
Montreal officials have extended water use restrictions as repairs on the Atwater main continue through the end of summer 26, urging residents to further reduce consumption to protect the city's supply. Nadia Bellafuel has the full story.
Residents are being asked to keep cutting back on water use as crews work on a weakened main pipe that feeds the city's primary reservoir. The Atwater conduit, a crucial link in Montreal's drinking water network, is undergoing reconstruction, and officials say the repairs could stretch through the end of summer 2026 and maybe into early autumn. The city says the fragile line must be fixed now to avoid any supply interruptions later in the season. In the meantime, households are urged to limit showers, turn off taps while brushing teeth, and run dishwashers only with full loads. The ongoing work is part of a broader effort to secure the water system for the coming months. Nadia Bellafuel, GMNA News, Atwater.
Coming up, we'll explain why the case halted funding for the Brossard Tower project, a decision that could reshape Skyline. We will be right back.
If you run a venue, a comedy night, a concert, a fundraiser, you already know the hardest part isn't the show. It's selling the seats. Theaterfiller changes that. In minutes, you're set up with your own ticketing page, QR code delivery, and a door scanner. No technical headaches. No middleman taking a cut of your night. Your event, your tickets, your revenue. Go to theaterfiller.com and fill every seat.
Good evening, Montreal. Caisse de dépôt et placement du Québec has indefinitely suspended its funding for the planned residential tower near the Panama REM station in Brossard, delaying construction slated for the fall of 26. Matthew Lachance has the full story.
Funding for the high-rise residential project near the Panama REM station in Brossard has been put on hold indefinitely. The Caisse de dépôt et placement du Québec announced it is suspending its financial participation, pausing a development that was slated to break ground in the fall of 2026. The plan called for several large apartment towers adjacent to the new REM line, promising hundreds of units and a boost to local housing. With the case stepping back, the timeline is now uncertain, and developers must reassess financing before construction can resume. The suspension arrives as the region awaits the REM extension, expected to improve commuter access across the South Shore. Local officials have not said when the project might move forward. Matthew Lachance, GMNA News, Brossard.
A Quebec judge has suspended the province's decision to deny permit renewals for 2 private colleges, allowing classes to resume and protecting hundreds of international students. Colette Barbeau has the full story.
The court stepped in on July 28, 2026, putting a hold on the provincial order that would have let the 2 private colleges lose their operating permits. By suspending that decision, the judge cleared the way for both schools to reopen classrooms immediately, averting a sudden break in studies for the hundreds of international students currently enrolled. The government had moved to refuse the renewals, a step that would have forced those students to scramble for new programs or leave the province. With the injunction in place, administrators are now able to resume regular schedules while the legal challenge proceeds. The temporary nature of the order means the schools will keep operating under existing conditions while the province prepares its full case for a final hearing. Colette Barbeau, GMNA News, Montreal. Fierté Montreal announced heightened security for its upcoming events after a fatal attack at the Berlin Pride Parade, which left 1 dead and approximately 30 injured. Matthew Lachance has the full story.
Fierté Montreal disclosed that it will heighten security for upcoming Pride events after the deadly attack in Berlin on July 25, 2026. The Berlin Parade left 1 person dead and roughly 30 participants injured, prompting the Montreal organizers to add more police presence, bag checks, and increased volunteer training. Officials said the measures include additional street barricades, expanded CCTV coverage, and a larger coordination team with local law enforcement agencies. The decision follows consultations with community leaders and safety experts, aiming to protect crowds without disrupting the festival atmosphere. Organizers emphasized that the new protocols will be in place for the weekend's main marches and related activities. Matthew Lachance, GMNA News, Montreal.
Montreal's Urban Scouts launch a day camp teaching children 9 to 14 to navigate the city with paper maps, echoing a decade-long Toronto program that forgoes smartphones. Ramai Gaudreau has the full story.
At the bustling corner of St. Laurent and St. Denis, a group of children between 9 and 14 gather around a wooden table strewn with colorful paper maps. Today the Scouts Urbans are running a day-long camp that teaches the kids to navigate Montreal's streets without a smartphone. Volunteers hand out folded city grids, point out landmarks, and set challenges that send the youngsters to the historic market, the hilltop park, and the waterfront using only printed directions. The concept mirrors a similar program that has been operating in Toronto for 10 years, though this version is organized independently of Scouts Canada. Participants laugh as they figure out routes, learning confidence in reading streets and landmarks the old-fashioned way. Ramai Gaudreau, GMNA News, Montreal.
CBC Quebec has posthumously named civil rights activist Gloria Bailey's a Black changemaker, recognizing her enduring influence on Canadian human rights law. The honor was announced Tuesday in Montreal. Matthew Lachance has the full story.
Late civil rights activist Gloria Baines has been named a Black changemaker by CBC Quebec, a posthumous honor announced Tuesday morning. The recognition comes as the network highlighted her decades-long work shaping Canadian human rights law, from her early days as a registered nurse to her later ventures as an entrepreneur and outspoken advocate. Colleagues noted that Baines helped lay the groundwork for key legal reforms and mentored a new generation of activists across the province. CBC Quebec's programming director, Dion Codrington, said the award reflects the lasting impact Baines had on equity and justice in Canada. The tribute will feature a special segment airing this week, showcasing archival footage and interviews with those who knew her best. Matthew Lachance, GMNA News, Montreal.
Now let's turn to our meteorologist for a quick look at tonight's forecast across the island.
A low-pressure trough drifting northeast, steered by a southerly jet, leaves Montreal stable and dry tonight. The all-time high for July 29 in Montreal sits at 31.7 degrees, recorded in 2015 during an intense heat wave that pushed the city into the upper 30s across the province. The record low is 11.4 degrees, set in 2017 when an Arctic air surge slipped south behind a stalled front, dropping temperatures well below the summer norm. By contrast, today's climatological average high is 27 degrees and the average low is 19, placing tonight's 25 degrees comfortably between the extremes. On the live radar, the screen is quiet, with no rain echoes across Quebec. The absence of echoes reflects the low-pressure center that is now filling and the modest southerly jet, which is steering dry, subsiding air over the region. With the jet only 33 kilometers per hour, any disturbance would be slow to arrive, but none is present. The calm echo field confirms a dry night ahead as we shift to tonight's outlook. At 6 p.m., Montreal sits at 25 degrees under partly cloudy skies, humidity around 65% and a gentle southeast breeze of 10 kilometers per hour. The lingering low-pressure center is modestly rising, allowing drier, more stable air to spill in from the south. A southerly jet at 33 kilometers per hour rides above the 500 hPA ridge, keeping any lingering moisture aloft and suppressing convection. As the sun sets at 8:26, temperatures will ease to 23 degrees by 7 o'clock, then drift toward a low of 19 through the night under increasing cloud cover. UV index holds at 2, wind will peak near 15 kilometers per hour from the south, and no weather alerts are in effect. With the atmosphere settled, we now look ahead to the 5-day trend. Looking ahead, Thursday brings a clear sky with a high of 25 degrees and a low of 17, as the high pressure that will settle aloft reinforces today's dry pattern. Friday remains mainly clear, matching Saturday's high of 26 but with a milder low of 20, yet a slow-moving frontal boundary will introduce cloud cover and a 60% chance of rain by late afternoon. Saturday's overcast spell holds the temperature near 26, and the moisture will linger into Sunday, when rain intensifies to a 70% probability and temperatures dip to 22 for the high and 17 for the low. Monday finally clears again, returning to a comfortable 25 degrees high and 17 low under a rebuilding ridge. The sequence shifts from dry early week to a wet mid-week trough, then back to stability. And that's your weather. Remember, the local sunset is also available as a podcast. Listen anytime on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.
Up next, traffic updates, a preview of tonight's lineup, and a look at Steve's music store auction. We will be right back.
If you run a venue, a comedy night, a concert, a fundraiser, you already know the hardest part isn't the show. It's selling the seats. Theaterfiller changes that. In minutes, you're set up with your own ticketing page, QR code delivery, and a door scanner. No technical headaches. No middleman taking a cut of your night. Your event, your tickets, your revenue. Go to theaterfiller.com and fill every seat.
All clear on the roads this afternoon. Autoroute 6, Autoroute 15, and the Dakery Expressway are flowing freely with travel times matching normal rush hour expectations. Downtown Rue St. Catherine and Boulevard St. Laurent show steady speeds, and the bridge to the South Shore reports no slowdowns. The main commuter routes from the West Island, including Boulevard St. Charles and Highway 42, remain open and unimpeded. No accidents or construction are holding up traffic at this time. On the transit side, the metro system and bus network are operating on schedule, with the green and orange lines running at regular intervals. Expect the usual increase in volume as the evening peak approaches, so allow a few extra minutes if you're heading downtown or the airport. Keep an eye on real-time updates if conditions change, but for now, the city's streets and transit are running smoothly.
Looks like the calendar is quiet today. Stay tuned to the local sunset for the next wave of Montreal happenings. And now here's Jason with sports.
Off-season buzz heats up as trades, youth and all-star dreams reshape the Habs. Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, and rookie Lane Hutson discussed Hutson's debut, while Ivan Demidov earned a shout-out as a potential breakout candidate. Montreal also swapped Sean Farrell for Sasha Pastujov, adding depth at wing, and veteran goalie Jake Allen voiced doubts about the three-goalie rotation. The Canadiens' acquisition of forward Sasha Pastujov for Sean Farrell reshapes the right-wing depth chart, inserting a versatile scorer with a proven two-way game. Farrell's exit opens a slot for a younger prospect, while Pastujov's restricted free status signals Montreal's intent to lock in a long-term asset. Juraj Slavkovsky, a two-time Olympic star, is projected onto Team World for the 2027 All-Star Game, underscoring his rising profile. The nod adds pressure to cement his elite status and gives Montreal a marquee forward to build around as the season approaches. Reports link the Columbus Blue Jackets forward Kirill Marchenko to a pending trade, with Montreal listed as one of two potential destinations. If the Habs land Marchenko, they would add a high-upside winger to complement their youthful core and deepen the second line. With most rebuilding clubs bolstering rosters with veterans, Montreal remains the league's youngest squad, highlighting a continued commitment to developing homegrown talent. The youth infusion promises speed and upside but also signals a marathon rebuild, where patience will be the Habs' greatest ally. Aaron Ward praised the Habs' strategic hire of Derek Lalonde, noting his defensive acumen will sharpen the blue line. Meanwhile, Slavkovsky's trajectory sparks debate on his next role, and Jet Greaves secured a 3-year, $15 million deal in Columbus, underscoring market demand for young talent.
Steve's Music Store on St. Laurent Boulevard in the heart of downtown Montreal has been the city's go-to spot for guitars, vinyl, and sheet music for 61 years. This Tuesday, the doors closed for good, and the owners announced an auction of the remaining inventory, from vintage Fender amps to rare jazz records. Musicians who grew up swapping lessons in the back room now face the loss of a place that felt like a second rehearsal space. The closure marks the end of an era for a neighborhood that has long thrived on live sound and street performances. Steve's was more than a shop. It was a community hub where Montreal's next generation of artists found their first chord. Stay tuned for a heartwarming tribute as we honor Gloria Bailey's, posthumously recognized as CBC Quebec's Black Changemaker, coming up next.
If you run a venue, a comedy night, a concert, a fundraiser, you already know the hardest part isn't the show. It's selling the seats. Theaterfiller changes that. In minutes, you're set up with your own ticketing page, QR code delivery, and a door scanner. No technical headaches. No middleman taking a cut of your night. Your event, your tickets, your revenue. Go to theaterfiller.com and fill every seat.
Good evening, Montreal. The St. Pierre interchange in Montreal moves from a 12-year study into the planning phase for its reconstruction, the Quebec government announced. Matthew Lachance has the full story.
The St. Pierre interchange is shifting gears as the province moves the reconstruction from a long-running study into the planning phase. After a 12-year analysis, officials confirmed this summer that design work will begin this year, aiming to address traffic bottlenecks and aging infrastructure. Engineers will start mapping out lane configurations, bridge replacements, and pedestrian pathways, while consultants prepare cost estimates and timelines. The project remains fully funded by the Quebec government, with construction slated to start after the planning package is approved. Local commuters can expect temporary detours during the next months as crews set up survey equipment and begin preliminary groundwork. Traffic engineers will monitor flow throughout the process to minimize impact on daily travel. Matthew Lachance, GMNA News, St. Pierre.
Radio-Canada Grand Montreal unveiled an interactive online map that pairs every Quebec region with its own signature song, letting users hear the province's musical landscape as they explore. Colette Barbeau has the full story.
An interactive online map launched today lets users wander across Quebec's 27 regions, while a locally chosen song plays for each area. The tool, unveiled by Radio-Canada Grand Montreal, pairs geographic boundaries with music that reflects the cultural flavor of places from the Gaspé Peninsula to the eastern townships. Clicking a region brings up a brief description and automatically streams the selected track, giving listeners a sonic snapshot of the province's diversity. The project aims to illustrate Quebec's landscape through its own soundtrack, offering a simple way to explore both maps and melodies from the comfort of a browser. The map also includes a timeline feature that lets users hear how musical selections have evolved over recent years, adding a historical layer to the experience. Colette Barbeau, GMNA News, Montreal.
Thanks for joining us, Montreal. Tonight's look at the heightened security for Pride after the heartbreaking Berlin parade reminded us why community vigilance matters. Stay safe, stay informed, and tune in tomorrow for more stories shaping our city. I'm Marc Beaumont, wishing you a good night.